In this lesson, we're going to look at these effects and talk about adding style to your image. The first is with a vignette, which you are probably familiar with. And at the top of this vignette, you can choose to add a white vignette or a dark vignette by sliding the slider to the right or left. So that kind of darkens the edges or makes them sort of white. And what a vignette does is it focuses the attention of the viewer more towards the center of the image, which is great when your subject appears in the middle of your frame. You can adjust how the vignette looks. Let me go all the way to the left to show you how crazy this is. And then by adjusting the midpoint, it makes it a smaller circle in the middle or a bigger one. So a bigger vignette or a smaller one. Let's go all the way to the left and then adjust the roundness, more circular or more like a rectangle. Let's make it a circle. And then feathering. So feathering smooths it out or makes it more of a hard circle. So that's a very stylistic approach. I like more of smoothing it out. Highlights will let some of the highlight colors appear to come through the vignette, which makes it look a little bit more natural. Now this vignette looks crappy, to be honest. This looks terrible. This is too much of a vignette. So I would not do that. Let me actually reset. All right, so I've reset my vignette settings. Usually I try to be a little bit more subtle about it, going somewhere around -50, increasing the feathering quite a bit. And depending on if I want it smaller or bigger, I'll adjust the midpoint. And usually with the roundness, I just leave it as is, which is more of a natural look for the image. So we can see the before and after with our backslash button. You can see how that vignette does look quite natural and nice. Vignettes are natural depending on the lens that you're using. Some lenses actually have more of a vignette than others. So you can use them, but I would be just careful about using them all the time. Some people like to add vignettes to every single photo that they edit. I used to do it when I was starting out, and now I look back at those photos and I facepalm myself because I don't know why I added vignettes to everything. It looks too stylistic. So be careful when you're adding a vignette and be subtle about it. So that's vignettes. What about grain? Why would you want to add grain to your image? Well, it's purely sort of a stylistic approach. Back when we shot on film, especially with black and white images, adding grain was just naturally part of the film. And so if we want to make this a black and white image, for example, just by clicking black and white, that's a quick way to do it. And then increasing the grain, that gives it sort of that old-timey feel. You can adjust the size of the grain, make it bigger or smaller, and the roundness, making it more round or sort of more choppy, more blocky, more square-like. And that's just more of a stylistic approach if you want to make it sort of that old-timey feel. What if you want to add some sort of sepia tone to it? A quick way to do that is just go back to our color to make it in color. What we're going to do is drop the saturation up under our basic, just around like -50 or so, and then drag up the warmth. This is just a very quick way to do it. There's other ways to do it, but that creates sort of a cool stylistic choice. Let's make the vignette amount more. We're going to decrease the roundness, decrease the feathering, bring it in, giving it more of a stylistic look. Now, I don't personally like this, but it's a style. What about dehaze? Dehaze is good for if you're shooting the sky and if you're shooting on a hazy day. Let me reset this and show you what dehaze will do. If I increase this, it actually brings out more of the color and detail in the sky. Now, this isn't the best example. Let me try to find a quick photo that will be more easy to see what dehaze does. Now, you have this photo under your, I believe this is in the Mac Photos folder. So if you want to play around with this one, you can. This is of Dodger Stadium. If I increase dehaze all the way, look how much information is in the clouds. It becomes a little bit more contrasty, a little bit more saturated, and that looks too much, but just doing a little bit helps quite a bit for this photo. If we go to the left, it makes things more hazy. Again, a stylistic approach that you might like. I don't personally like it. Usually though, for landscapes, I do add a little bit of dehaze to the image to bring that information back when shooting wide open landscapes, especially in Los Angeles, where we get a lot of smog And when you're looking out at a big open city or landscape, things are they just tend to be a little hazy. So those are the effects here in Lightroom. In the next lesson, we're going to learn how to export and save photos. And then following that, we're going to look at some of these other tools and options that we didn't go over to show you more of the features and capabilities of Lightroom. And following that, we're going to be doing full Lightroom edits to show you the complete process that a pro editor would use when editing a photo.